Hello everybody, welcome back to another Rust Console New Gen Edition video. Today we are going to be specifically looking at the best settings for you. Now in the past with the old generation version of the game, I've made countless settings videos and there was about one or two which were pretty much the same because I've used the same settings throughout that time. Now with the introduction of this new game, the settings have slightly changed. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Today we're going to be specifically looking at my settings and what's best for me and what I'd recommend to you, as well with tailoring your settings to how this game works and the mechanics behind it. We're going to be looking at the FOV and we're also going to be looking at the sprays with the different FOVs. This is ranging from 70 to 90 and whether or not you should be looking at specifically looking into 80 FOV or 85 higher or below. In addition, we're going to be testing the weapons AK-47, MP5 and the Tommy. I've set up a little course to go from short range to mid range and then to obviously longer range. First off, we're going to be looking into the recoil for those three weapons I named just earlier. And we're going to be looking at these standing and crouching, seeing whether or not the recoil has changed and whether or not as well they've added that crouching makes the recoil easier, or is it just a myth? This will be tested out on 90 FOV. Now, as we can see, all the recoil is pretty much the same as it was on old gen, so nothing has changed there. Let's look into my settings specifically and what I'd recommend to you guys. Here's my settings side by side. On the left will be the old gen settings that I had, and on the right is the new gen settings that I've currently got. Let's look into boost multiplier first and foremost. So if you're a new player here, then boost multiplier basically means how fast your sensitivity is when spinning around. If you have it on 0, it's going to be not really fast, and if you have it on, let's say 400%, which I believe is the cap for this, then you're going to be flying. I've got mine in the middle, around the middle, which is 250%. This is just because I'm used to high sensitivity. I've been playing Call of Duty on insane sensitivity since I can remember even playing the game, so it just makes sense for me to be able to turn really fast. You may be different. You may have lower sensitivity, in which I'd recommend not doing 250%. However, it's worth a try to see if you actually do prefer this in that respect. Now for camera sensitivity X and Y, I've got it at 80% both on the new generation, whereas on the old gen I had the Y axis on 100%. There's no real recommendation I would give for changing it. I just have it both at 80 and so far it's working for me. Now this is where the game kind of kicks in its new mechanics and where I change stuff very drastically. So on the ADS, which is aim down sight, this basically is your iron sight, how fast the sensitivity is when you're aiming down that iron sight. And I've still got mine at 23, but I do intend to change it to around 20% or lower. For camera sensitivity scoped 1 times, this has gone down drastically to 15%, whereas on the old generation of the game, it was 23%. So when I've been streaming, as you can see, my aim has been pretty much off. It feels like it's a new game really with the PvP and how it works. So when I was in a private server, I was tinkering with it and it's gone down to 15, which is the sweet spot. There's pros and cons to this, which I'll just elaborate on now. So the pros for this on 15%, it means that the recoil isn't really in effect. It actually does really well in terms of controlling it. If you learn how to control the weapon spray, then you'll be fine with 15%. However, the con with this is that if you're aiming in and trying to aim down a target when they're close range, you're not really going to hit many bullets, just for the pure factors that is slow when moving side to side. At close range, whereas if you're from a far range, then 15% is going to do you wonders. Summarizing that point, if you are around 20 to 25%, I would say lower it to 20 to, or 15 to 20%, I should say, lower it to around that benchmark of numbers rather than the 25%, because for some reason 25 or 23% feels really fast in this game as opposed to what it did in old gen. Again, we've got obviously new FOV, which is to do with that. So I would say around 15 to 20% is your sweet spot. I don't particularly use 4 times that much, and the bow and the sprinting, I've just left that how it is. So for dead zone, if we go down to dead zone left and dead zone right, so dead zone left stick means just your left stick on your controller, and again, right stick means the right stick on your controller. I've got these both at 5%. Whereas if I go back to the old gen version of the game, I had this on 1% for dead zone left and 3% for dead zone right. So for the change of this, again, it's due to the game being different in terms of respect of the mechanicalism for the new gen version of the game and how PvP works. But for the most part, I've just inherited stick drift. Unfortunately, I might have to invest in a new controller. So now onto the target practice with the flame turrets. I've got 2 variations of this, one in 90 FOV, and then we're going to be switching over to 70 FOV. I'm going to be doing this with a hand cam, as you guys had suggested you wanted to see how I sort of played the game. And after this target practice, I'm then just going to do a couple sprays so you see how my spray is, just shooting point blank at something and how accurate it can be. So to conclude this settings video, basically I'm not saying you should copy, setting for setting on what mine are. Merely this is just a guide, as I always say, for your own settings. So pick apart stuff you like from what I've got and then put it and integrate it into your own settings and get used to it. Just use this as a benchmark, and how you play may differ to what you have in your settings. You could be an extremely high settings player in which you'd have all the numbers and the percentages bumped up to nearly 100, or if you're a low sense player, you probably don't want the boost multiplier and you want the low sense of the 1x that I have in my video. If there's any questions surrounding this, be sure to leave a comment down below. By all means, this is not a fresh complete guide, as I'm still learning myself with this game and what settings are the best, but I wanted to get this out as soon as possible for those of you who were asking for this video for many times throughout the video guides that I've done in the past. As always, thank you very much for watching. Subscribe, you don't have to, but if you do like the videos and like all things new gen Rust console, then this is the channel for you. We're nearly at 10,000, which is insane. I'm going to be maybe live streaming the devlog tomorrow, and then I'll put a guide out or a summarization of the devlog after the live stream has concluded. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe if you're new around here, leave a like if you enjoyed, and as always, see you in the next one. Take care.